Hey, hi everybody. We're here today with a really neat show. We have Sean with us that he's going out by faith. He's jumping out, so we'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back. We got Sean with us here. He's going to share a little bit of his life story with us. He's leaving. He's going out by faith. He doesn't know where yet, but God will speak to him and tell him exactly where he's going to be. Sean, welcome to the show today. Awesome. Why don't you share a little bit about, your life and what you're doing and how God called you out?
Yeah, so 16 years ago, I think we talked about this.
Yes.
I had a friend of mine who introduced me to Calvary Chapel. Had never been to Calvary Chapel before in my entire life.
Where were you going?
I was working for different places and working for a couple different churches. I was a freelance audio guy, and I was touring with some bands and stuff like that. And I decided to stay home, and a friend of mine introduced me to Calvary Chapel. I'd never been to a Calvary Chapel before. So
You said they were weird.
no, I mean it was definitely different, and it was so biblically driven. I had not experienced that before with other churches.
So you were not getting the word of God in the other churches?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't getting the same experience.
Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you came, what was the first thing that you do?
So I came and started doing sound. So started mixing sound for you guys, and now 16 years later, here I am.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, when you came to do what you do, how did it all start?
How did I start doing sound?
Mm-hmm.
I just started in a youth group. So I started at a church in a youth group.
How old were you then?
I think I was in high school. So I was
Wow.
probably 16, 17 years
That's
old.
young.
Yeah, people ask me how long I've been mixing, and I always say, I've been mixing about 26, 27 years.
That's
so,
a lot. Hey, you went fast.
yeah, exactly. So I started mixing in a youth group, and then started mixing main services at a church in Corona. And one thing led to another. I started working for a production company in Corona, doing, remember Spirit of West Coast?
Yeah.
So we started doing Spirit of West Coast and some other large events and stuff. And so I kind of got into it that way. But it wasn't until later that I realized that the Lord gave me a talent that I never thought I had.
How did you know that it was the Lord speaking to you?
I didn't know. I didn't know until later on what he was using me for. And so it wasn't until after you look back at your life and you say, oh, Lord, put me in this place and put me in that place to do
Did
what
he
I do.
speak to you through the word? I mean, were you reading and God spoke to you, or in a still more voice?
You know what? Yeah, through the word a little bit. A lot of times I look back and I see the doors that he opened and the doors that he closed.
Yeah.
And you look back and you say, oh, man, it's amazing. That couldn't have happened without the Lord.
But you would have
So,
got nowhere.
I'd be somewhere else.
Yes.
Definitely.
So how did you feel when the Lord called you and you knew that it was God calling you?
I felt like he was in control, and then sometime along the way, I kind of lost that and pulled away from him a bit. And so, and then he has a way of chasing you.
Yeah, he sure does.
So, he chased me, and I think I've been closer to the Lord now that COVID has happened. He kind of brought me back to a different place, taking the control out of my life and putting it in His hands.
Now, when did you get married?
I've been married 11 years.
11 years? I thought it was more.
No, 11 years. I met my wife here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
She sat right next to the booth, and we ended
checking you out.
Yeah, I guess so. We ended up meeting. Here, and we dated for a little while, and we got married. Yeah.
So, what, 19, what? I mean, 2000 what?
14.
14.
Yeah.
So now, what did she think about what you were doing?
She thought I was the sound guy. Yeah, so
That's it, huh?
that was it. She was like, "Who's the sound guy?" And so, I don't think she really knew much about what else I did in the world as far as mixing for a bunch of different churches and artists and other things. And
did she come to a place in her life that not only she thought that God had given her to you, you know what I'm saying, you to her, but what was she doing in life?
She was working. She was working for a mortuary.
Oh, wow.
And she was just doing her thing, and she was going to church with her family and just serving, and we connected here.
So when
Totally
you die, you don't have to worry about that.
I don't have to worry about that. Yeah, she's got that taken care of.
That's cool.
We started Linear Production, which is my production company, in now it's been about 6 years now.
Wow.
So like 2015, I think. And when she was pregnant with my son, she stopped working, and she planned on going back to work. And God really blessed us in the business.
Yeah.
And so she never went back to work.
That's awesome.
And now she's a teacher for my son. She's a homeschool teacher.
That's the best, especially with the school districts, the way things are happening.
Yeah.
Surely you don't want your kids in school because they're going to get brainwashed, you know?
Yeah.
Now, when you got together, you had your little boy. Now, what happened after that? When you were thinking, not only had God had blessed you, did you ever think that you were going to leave and do something else?
No, I mean, we had a 10-year plan in the business, and the business was growing and growing, and then COVID hit. Wow. And when COVID hit, everything shut down, and so God has a way of just bringing you down to your knees. And
did that hurt you financially?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It just stopped everything, stopped our entire industry, and it was just out of nowhere, and a lot of people were affected by COVID. But honestly, the churches were a huge blessing and really got us through that hard time, including Golden Springs.
So how did you do financially with your family?
During COVID?
Yeah.
We were just blessed. The churches started doing outdoor events, and a lot of churches were buying equipment. So we also do sales and integration and installs. And so we were really blessed. We ended up doing fine, and we ended up growing clientele, and the Lord really blessed it.
Now, I heard that you lost everything at one time. You had nothing. God took everything away from you, or what happened to you?
Yeah, during COVID, when you shut down, you have to start figuring out what you're going to do with employees, and where the money's going to come from, and how you're going to sustain the business. And so, obviously when COVID hit, there were so many unknowns. There were so many things that people didn't know about this sickness, this pandemic. And so we really were just on our knees praying about it. And God really brought my family together more, and we really experienced the Lord in a way that I've never experienced Him before.
So you and your family got together and prayed, and God really began to speak to your heart?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're still praying.
Did you ever think like, oh, what about if I don't have anything? I lose my business. I'm going to be on my own?
You know what? Initially, that was one thought that I had. And then as I started growing in the Lord and reading, I just put complete faith in Him. And He took care of us.
That's good.
Amazing.
Now, what did your family? You still have a mom and dad?
Yeah, my parents.
Well, are they Christians?
They're Christians. Yeah.
Why don't you share a little bit about them?
So my parents are. When I grew up, they were I would say seasonal Catholics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we would go to church, Catholic church on holidays and stuff like that.
So you did your first communion? You were baptized?
Oh yeah, I did the whole thing, altar boy,
Confirmation?
the whole the whole
whole
thing.
thing.
Yep. And my sisters actually became Christians first, and my parents later became Christians, and then I kind of followed along at a different church. So
A different church,
They
yeah.
went to one church, and I went to another church. Oddly enough, one of my best friends that I grew up with, his parents made him go to church. They forced him
really?
to go
Forced
to church.
him, yeah.
So then I went with him.
Wow.
And so he dragged me to church, and that's where I gave my life to the Lord.
Did you ever want to be a priest?
No, I didn't. No.
Hey, I thought I'd be a priest, but I forget it. When I saw their lifestyle, forget that stuff.
Yeah.
So what did you think about your parents coming to the Lord?
It was
Different.
It was different.
Yeah.
It was different for me. And they were, I think they still at that point were kind of just going through the routine,
Yeah,
like the
right.
Catholic
Yeah.
routine, the Christian routine. And so
Went through the motions.
the motions,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I kind of thought, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they saw your life, you were progressing spiritually. They began to see they were growing spiritually, and you got really involved with the Lord. What did they think about that?
Oh, they thought it was great. It kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because I was super involved in youth group, and like I said, I was starting to mix sound for the youth group and then into the main services.
You ever
when I was
take
younger.
drugs or drink?
No, never.
Nothing? Wow.
No,
Like
I was
me.
never into. I never got caught up in any of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Lord really kept me away from that.
That's good. A lot of your friends got messed up with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends who got involved in alcohol. And then even when we were traveling and doing sound, you saw a lot of things in the
for
world.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you did a lot of secular stuff, right?
All
So you
secular
saw a
stuff.
lot of trash.
I saw a lot of
trash.
I saw a lot of hurting people, a lot of
Yeah.
things. Similar to what Ryan is
right
preaching
now.
to now. Yeah,
Right.
because there's a whole world out there that
Totally different than the church, man. The
Yeah.
church, I don't think understands many times, because they're so secluded.
Sure.
And yet, when you go out into the world, it's totally different. I work with a lot of non-believers. I like that because you know how it is being in the industry. People are needed. They have a lot of problems. They come to you, and I guess that happens to you.
Yeah, I mean, when I was out traveling, I kind of stayed in my own little side of my location
Right.
and stayed away from all of the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And there's stuff that you see that now I look back, it's just people who need the Lord, hurting people. Then it was just something I didn't want to be involved in, but I didn't really know what was wrong.
Were they trying to recruit you, some of these guys?
Yeah, you're in it all the time.
Yeah,
You're kind of bathed in it
Yeah.
because you can't get away from it.
It really hurts you.
Yeah, and so it was when I came back and decided to start working for Calvary, it was kind of like a light for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Did you ever meet Pastor Chuck?
I did. So actually, Chuck put on a tent event.
Oh,
And so
I remember that.
yeah, and so I mixed in the tent event.
You
when
did?
Yeah, when it was, I think you spoke that.
Yeah,
And it was the worship band, and so
Yeah.
I got to meet Chuck, and I'm a Chuck fanatic now, and I really took Chuck for granted. Yeah, when I didn't really realize how amazing he was until after he passed away.
When you start, listen to his studies, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
The guy gave him so much wisdom, and he loved so many people. I mean, think about that. Here we are, and God used him to, to work with young people. He didn't want to work with the hippies.
Yeah.
Kay's wife is the one at Huntington Beach. They went up there and said, Chuck, we got to pray for all these kids. And then God opened the door in his home to bring in Lonnie Frisbee. He was the first hippie with his oldest daughter. And Chuck said, man, you know what? Something's happening here. And Kay said, well, why don't we go back and see what God's going to do? And what happened? The Lord just blew the whole thing up. And I think you were there, part of it now. And now are you listening to his studies?
Oh yeah, I listened to the word for. I think it's the word for the day.
Yeah, the word for the day.
And yeah, my wife and I had this conversation the other day, and we we were listening to Kay talk about Corona.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah, Corona.
When Chuck was in Corona, and she's really the one that I think she's the one that pushed him to Costa Mesa.
Yeah, because what happened is, he didn't want to, without Kay, he didn't want to do nothing, right?
Yeah.
So he went to Kay and said, Kay, look, this is going on, and they asked me to come to Santa Ana. What do you think about it? She got, there's no way, So she said, I'm going to pray about that. So she prayed, and man, they both went, 25 people and their family. Whoever thought that millions of people would get the gospel to Pastor Chuck and Kay.
Yeah, I look at that now, and that's kind of my motto where I'm at now with my family is, going out, leaning on the Lord to really guide us. So,
Are you kind of fearful about that?
I don't think it's hit me yet.
Yeah.
We're packing up our house this week. We have to be out by the end of next week, and we're just gonna follow the Lord and pray that He guides us.
Are you putting stuff in storage?
Putting it in our warehouse.
Oh, wow.
So
That's cool.
Yeah, so we sold Linear Production, my company, to another company, and I'm going to continue servicing the churches and the clients through through that company.
Wow.
Remotely.
Yeah.
And we're gonna hop in the RV and get out on the road and figure out what the Lord wants to do.
That is so cool that you're actually answering the call.
Yeah.
Which is, it's very hard. A lot of times we think, well, I don't know if God really spoke to me,
Sure.
Like when God spoke to me, I didn't want to be a pastor. I didn't want to have a church.
Sure.
I mean, that was for sissies,
Yeah. Yeah.
But then God had his way of humbling us,
Absolutely.
And then he did that, and look what God has done here. And the same with you. I'm going to tell you right now, the same with you. If you stay simple, you stay humble,
Yes.
and you really seek the Lord's going to open the doors you never thought he would open.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to happen. I'm just excited to see it's really hard to leave.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave this family, the church.
Yeah.
It's hard to leave my family, and see what the Lord wants to do.
What does your family say?
They haven't said much. I don't think it's hit them yet either.
His grandkid.
Yeah, so I have my 7-year-old Parker, and he's the youngest.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the rest of the nieces and nephews are all in their teens, and so my in-laws who used to come here to the church, they're also going as well. They sold their business, and we're just excited to see what the Lord has in store, whether that's ministry for the back half of my life and career, or something else.
Something else, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when God calls you, he anoints you, he uses your life.
Sure.
You'll look back. I look back at time flies so rapidly, and I go, God, Lord, I didn't expect what you did with me in this church, that you never thought about it. And one thing that's really cool about me in this church, that we've never asked for money, and God has always provided, for everything that we do. And I would pray that you continue to do that, and God's gonna bless you. You can't even believe what God will do if you trust him, and it's incredible.
Yeah. He's really anointed me this last 2 years with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's really touched me.
Wow.
Every day I feel it, you know what I mean?
Is
So
cool.
it's made me more sensitive to people, more sensitive to situations, sensitive to what the Lord's doing. And so, I'm just trying to follow him and see what he has in store for us.
And I'll share some things with you because, when you go out, be careful with people.
Sure.
People that they see something that they like. When I got started, that's what happened to me. Pretty soon they started saying, well, maybe you have the gift of evangelism, you shouldn't be a pastor, And I went to Pastor Chuck, and Chuck told me, he said, who called you? What did he call you to do?
Sure.
He says, be careful when you listen to people, because people don't know your heart. They don't know the anointing God's put in your life.
Sure.
And I would share the same thing with you, that as you travel and people, they see who you are and what you're doing, don't listen to the Lord. And he's going to open the doors that are going to blow you away, because you will know that it's God that called you and the one that's going to use your life. And the same thing with your wife.
Yeah, she's really good with discernment. So
That's cool.
Yeah, and he's helped me with that as well. I'm really hoping to learn everything I can.
Yeah, it's neat. It's neat to see. Knowing you for a long time now, it's been a real blessing for me to know you, and to see what God not only has done, but what He's going to do in your life.
I appreciate it.
It's really cool. We're going to pray for you. We're going to keep in touch with you.
Yeah.
And to see, if you need anything from the church here, we're here to sustain you, to whatever we need to do to help you. which is
so
really
much.
cool, you know.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for being here.
Thanks for having
we
me.
love you, man. That's cool. Are you nervous?
I am nervous. Honestly, and you and I have talked about this before. Churches, a lot of churches don't preach the word, and so leaving here makes me really nervous.
Yeah.
Not having this framework and this
Right.
family, probably even more than my own family.
Yeah.
I'm more nervous about leaving this place.
Yeah.
So
well, the audience is going to be praying for you. You
Appreciate
guys
it.
pray for him, his wife, his kids.
Thank you.
And see what God's going to do. Thank you so much. We love you. And
Thanks for
God
having me.
bless you. Thanks.
all right.